Hey everyone, welcome to Walks with Moss. Time for a real quick garden tour. Here's next year's raspberries, looking great. Some kohlrabi, more raspberries, a gourd, a sweet meat squash, which is at least 10 feet long now. Here's the end of it. Here's the plant. Look at that thing go. We got like our fourth succession of lettuce there. Some parsnips, some tomatillos, our first succession of bush beans. Here's something called tree spinach or giant lamb's quarters. I've never grown before. Here's some kale that I'll probably overwinter. Here's some lettuce I'm letting go to seed. Here's some gourds that I just threw in the ground because I had the seed. Over here is a zucchini, and I'm getting a zucchini every other day now. I'm pretty excited about that. Here I've got a yellow squash, which this is my first one. I should be able to pick that in a day or two. Yay! Here is my mystery squash, which no doubt in my mind now is a pumpkin. There's another one over here. The blackberries are growing a little bit slow. They're starting to pick up though. There's another crookneck squash. Here's some lettuce I've already harvested. Here's some lettuce that I'm growing in the shade of my giant tomatillos and my enormous tomato plants. I'm beginning to think maybe I over-fertilized my tomato plants because look at all that green growth. That's crazy. And over here is the happiest cucumber so far. And I gave it a nice trellis now so it can grow up that. Here's some pie pumpkins, and they have escaped their garden bed. They're growing out. I'm starting to get blueberries, although admittedly the birds are getting more of them than I am. And now, okay, one more thing. There's some kale. Here's a kohlrabi almost ready to pick. And now I invite you along to watch as I harvest my first tomato ever at this property. This one right here. It is July 29th, and I have a tomato that's not ripe, but ready to harvest, because they say you should harvest them when they're at the breaker stage, and this tomato is there. So let's see if I can set my phone there, and I will clip that off. There we go, first tomato. I was worried I wouldn't be able to grow tomatoes here since I only get 5.5 hours of direct sun in my garden and then another 2 or 3 hours of partial shade. But obviously I can grow tomatoes here. I've been told that July 29th is actually a little bit on the earlier side to get a tomato here on the Olympic Peninsula, so yay. Everything's going great. Super happy with my garden. Got my asparagus over here. I've started watering it a bunch. I always assumed it didn't need much water because it grows wild in eastern Washington, but I read that it likes water, so I'm giving it water. Here's my compost potatoes. Not sure what I'm going to do with them. So yeah, garden's going great. The neighborhood's kind of noisy. I got a lot of people next door, and they got a dog, and there's airplanes going, so it's never quite as peaceful here as I would like it to be, but it's still way better than where I was. So yeah, thanks for watching. First tomato at my new house. Yay. Bye-bye.